to create personal freedom, it's very important to have the freedom to discuss religion. And that's one thing, that you have the freedom to discuss everything. And also that we don't want religion to decide how the society shall be conducted. Yes. For us, religion is a private matter, a personal matter. It's a private, but religion don't conduct how the society should be. That is very fundamental. But I see Islam as a way of, we call it a law religion. It's not only a personal faith, but it's also guidelines for society. Yeah. And of course you're free to practice that in Saudi Arabia, but in Denmark we do it in quite another way. For us religious, that's a private, personal question, but it's not to set up guidelines. And we see this conflict as a situation where you come from Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and everywhere and say you should change your society so it's more like our society. We have a wide freedom of religion in Denmark, where Muslims have a very widespread freedom of practicing their religion, and therefore we find it insulting that even we get the space for Muslims, they are threatening us if we just do what we used to do in Denmark. We find that very insulting.
Explain to me, how is it not degrading to put on the head of my prophet
I can, it's because you have to ask an expert in Jura to explain that. Okay. And but I think it's compared with the purpose of the drawings, that it was a purpose to show that you not have this limiting of freedom due to that others are threatening you. That because it was not the purpose to insult Muslims. The purpose was to show that we still have the freedom we want to have in Denmark, even if some disagree with it.
But that's what was done.
And do you not think that message could have been conveyed?
Yeah, but it was not the purpose, and that's why it's not, you can use, you probably not could use that law against the drawings.
You cannot.
Because it was not the purpose. I don't think so, but and I think that's the explanation, was that it was not the purpose. To insult, the purpose was to show that we still have the freedom of speech in the Danish tradition in Denmark.
So you're looking not at the act, but at the purpose behind the act.
Not only, you looked as a whole. You look as a whole, and you made a balance.
If there's no clear law that says exactly like it says, you cannot put a Nazi sign on your door. It's illegal in Germany to put, in Denmark to put that, and if you put that, you get prosecuted. And there are cases where a person put a Nazi thing on his door, and he was prosecuted. So there is a clear law. However, if there's nothing clear, some other guy can come tomorrow and just put it again, and it just keeps on going and going and going.
That is clear, and you can take it to the court, and it's up to the court to decide if there has been some illegal actions. Okay. It's not a political decision.
The blasphemy legislation, I think, has only been used very few times in the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years or something. But I think, I'm not sure, but I think somebody takes this incident to the court in Denmark.
مايكل هو المسؤول عن القضية حقت الكاريكاتيرات، يعني هو المحامي اللي رفع القضية هذه للمحكمة وللبروسيكيوتر. وأتمنى من جميع المشاهدين يشاهدوا هذا الكلام علشان نستطيع جميعا أن نفهم تركيبة القانون الدنماركي. Mr. Michael, I'd like to thank you first. I know you came on short notice, so I really appreciate your time. First, I had a very interesting conversation with you before the shooting. regarding the structure of government. A lot of the Muslims are wondering why hasn't the Prime Minister taken more aggressive action or a sincere apology towards the Muslim nation. And your explanation helped me understand why he wasn't able to do that. So if you can give us just a general outline on the structure of the government.
So the short story is that our constitution is based on the thoughts of a French philosopher who was named Montesquieu and who lived in the 17th century. And he recommended that a society was built in the way that the powers were split into three. One power which is passing the laws, which is the parliament. Another power which is administrating the laws, which is the government. And the third power which is deciding whether the laws are correctly administrated or not, which are the judges.
The court.
The court, yeah. And the Prime Minister is the head of the government, the second power. And he has to administrate in accordance with the laws, and he cannot take the position of the courts.
Okay.
So if he said that the Yunus-person did something wrong, and then he would make a verdict, he would put himself in the position as if he was a judge, which he cannot. It would be an infringement of the Constitution. Okay. And he cannot change the laws either. It is not in his powers. The powers to make the law is the Parliament. He is a member of the Parliament, but he is not a majority government.
Okay. So he has no right under Danish law to come and say they are guilty or to come and say we're sorry. Can he apologize? Can he?
No, actually, the tricky thing is that to put him in such a position, if he should say, I am sorry, in his capacity of Prime Minister, then he would be either saying something he didn't mean, which would be meaningless, or he would be putting himself in the position of the judge, which he could not. So the only possibility he had was what he did to say, as a private person, I regret. I would never have done it, blah, blah, blah. It was the way to get as close as possible to saying, we are sorry, without infringing the Constitution.
So in the case about the caricatures, we're left with those two questions.
Islam is the same as terrorism. He was convicted.
إذا كانت غيرتنا اللي الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام فعلا غيري بمبادئ حسنة وإخلاص، المفروض نتصرف تصرف عقلاني ونتصرف بالمبادئ اللي موجودة في الإسلام اللي هي المبادئ السلمية. إحنا مش عاملين كمسلمين، بالعكس.
هنا يعني الدين لسه مولود يعني، فطبعا يعني سوف الدين وموقف الدين هنا يعني ضعف.
I mean, you can't, unfortunately, very sadly, you can't find Muslims who are willing to do horrible things in the name of Islam. You can find these Muslims, very, very sadly.
غدا ولمحبي رياضة كرة القدم عودة من جديد مع صدى الملاعب وآخر أخبار الكرة السعودية ونجومها. أما بعد قليل شاركوا عبر الSMS وعبروا عن آرائكم مع حلقة جديدة من شباب على الهواء على MBC 1.